Welcome back to Fire Emblem Engage. Last time we liberated this peaceful village from corrupted and one random Armor Knight enemy. And we also got a new emblem and we got 3 new characters. And we're going to go over those characters in the Somniel. But if I remember right... Oh, I guess there was one person I forgot to talk to. Yeah, that's what happens, like, you get the bond fragments that you miss when you leave.
Hey, folks. Mind if we bend your ear a minute?
I've always found this expression really weird. It just sounds like someone's actually grabbing your ear and bending it.
Name's Durden. I'm an armorer. And this here's Anis, purveyor of goods. We saw you trading thumps with those things. Figured you might be in the market for supplies.
Yes. If you need, we'd be happy to provide you with quality weapons and items. Anything to defeat those creatures. They pose a terrible threat to traveling merchants like us.
How would you feel about moving to our base? You can sell your wares from there.
It also means that you would never see your families again, because I have not authorized them for Somniel travel.
Divine One.
What? We don't have any facilities. These two could be a good addition.
You're gonna let us open shops at your base?
If you'd like to. We'll need plenty of weapons and items from here on out. It's a haven. You won't find any creatures there.
Well, no creatures except us.
You got yourself a bargain. Can't wait to do business together.
Thank you for this. I will do my utmost to ensure you receive the finest items.
And 10,000 gold in military funds from Vander. Yeah, again, money's tight and engaged, so you might need to hold on to that. You may be wondering what's the use of buying weapons in a game where weapons have infinite durability. Well, we'll see. It's actually pretty useful. Also, we access the world map now, and it looks pretty nice in this game. So, we have to move to the next destination and begin the chapter, but you can also choose to go to the Somniel, so from now on the Somniel is basically optional, but a lot of things have unlocked at the Somniel. Also, Lethos is that little area, press ZL for the free camera. This is Lethos, so we were just here, we're now here, and the next chapter is Ferine Castle. This chapter is easily the toughest chapter in the early game, and especially on Maddening, it's one that will likely give a lot of trouble, so I would recommend heading back to the Somniel to prepare. Could even see a Lucia in the distance there. Let's go to our haven high above the clouds. And our little collection of sprites is definitely starting to look more lively. Fun fact, the developers had to make one sprite for every character, for every engage form. So, yeah, like, every character has a lot of sprites here. Okay, so, this thing right here, expansion pass bonus. This is kind of a little bit of an elephant in the room. Update bonus 1. Okay, update bonus 1, everybody gets this one. That was just from a patch to the game. Expansion pass update 2. Yeah, okay, this is the problem. Yeah, remember when I said that money is tight and we kind of need to stretch Vander's funds a bit? Well, if you have the expansion pass for the DLC, you just get 30,000 free gold. And I don't really like that because this is a game where, yeah. Money's supposed to be very tight. I don't really care too much about the 5,000 bond fragments because you can get those quite easily out of achievements. I will not be using the silver weapons yet. Because it's a bit too early for those. I'll explain the books later. Update bonus 2. There are these things. I don't actually particularly care about these. You can now manage your skills. Yeah, okay, so yeah, there's a lot that's going to be unlocked here. But before anything else, I want to go ahead and talk to the 3 that just joined up. Okay, Chloé and Louis are down there, but I want to go for Saline first. She's at the farm. Okay, that's good. I will need to show the farm. But, okay. Let's grab these first. Milk and eggs. Guess we can make quite a lot of things out of milk and eggs. But, hi there, Saline.
Thank you.
She is changed out of the cage dress of doom. And that adds her page to the ally notebook, and with that, let's talk about Saline.
It's tea time!
Despite sharing a class name with Alfred, Saline's version of Noble is a unique mystical class that can also use swords. She's your only magical source of damage outside of Clan at this point, and depending on how Clan's been doing, she might be a more reliable armor killer. While she can use swords, they're more useful if you just really need to break an axe user. Most of the time, it's much better to attack with her magic, though when you have access to the magical Levin sword, she makes great use of that. One thing about Saline is, even though her HP and defense are not amazing, she tends to be a little bulkier than Clan on average, and sometimes a mage you can afford to expose to one enemy is useful. Speaking of Clan though, Saline does suffer from a similar problem. Her magic growth in her base class is just as unreliable as his is. But her base magic growth is much higher than his, so she can reclass to a more magic focused class like Sage or Mage Knight to pump up that stat more. She also has an oddly overkill luck stat that I don't personally find useful for much, but it's something. Her personal skill increases the recovery that healing items provide, and in early chapters when your main source of healing is vulneraries, that's actually more useful than you think. Saline's unique promotion is Vidam, an on-foot mystical class able to use swords, tomes, and staves. Access to staff utility within a Lord class is very nice. And this class also provides a helpful small boost to her strength and magic growths, which is probably to make better use of its skill, Ignis. Yes, you may remember this skill if you played Awakening. It has a dex % chance of adding half your strength to magic attacks and half your magic to physical attacks. Saline's dexterity isn't really high enough to make this reliable though, and she has a -2 to her stat cap in that area. But not many classes have access to Levin swords, tomes, and staves, which would be the main reason to use Vidam. If you don't care about that though, Saline can easily become a more conventional magic class and might do better there. Most of the time, I find Saline a more reliable magic user than Clan, but there are other magic users that join later who may be even better. Still, Saline is perfectly usable. Conveniently for me, the other two characters I need to talk about are both here. First is Louis.
Magnificent. May we all be protected.
At last, the one true savior of armor knights has arrived. Not exactly. Louis went the opposite direction to Alfred. I think people overvalued him in the early days of Engage's release, and people look at him more critically now. As an armored unit in Engage, Louis has the same movement as other foot classes, and is immune to break via the weapon triangle. He also has incredible base defense and HP, so high that most physical enemies are not a threat to him. This makes Louis one of the only characters who can waltz into a horde of enemies and deal significant damage to them on the enemy phase, a rare niche in Engage. But with a base resistance of 1 and enough speed to almost guarantee being doubled, he needs to stay far away from mages. Chain attacks are also a concern, but aside from that, he can take on physical enemies for days, and he'll gain a lot of experience with this. So what does leveling up do for him? His growths might look lopsided, but in practice, he has high growths in all the stats he wants, HP, strength, and defense, and low growths in stats he doesn't care about, speed, resistance, and luck. My only gripe is, despite an okay base dexterity, his growth can suffer in that department. You may need to inherit some hit plus skills onto him from Sigurd to keep his accuracy reliable in the late game. Speaking of which, Louis and the Armor Knight class in general do drop off in usefulness towards the later chapters, where stronger enemies that can consistently double him start appearing. This drop-off happens even faster on Maddening mode, where many players stop using him after chapter 12 or so. Not helped by the fact that Maddening enemies will not attack someone if they'll do 0 damage. Despite this, Louis is still very useful for the early chapters, and on normal or hard, is quite useful for the whole game. Oh yeah, there's also his personal skill. -2 damage is nice, but in practice, Louis is so tanky he doesn't need this often anyway. and getting 2 females adjacent for it can be impractical. It's a little easier to activate if you have a female Aaliyah, so that may be a reason to pick that gender. And Chloé.
Uh-huh. Is it go time?
There are many constants in Fire Emblem. The main character's parents die, and the first flyer you get is amazing. Chloé is an example of the latter. Chloé is a very typical Pegasus Knight, having excellent dexterity and speed, along with good resistance. Her job is meant to be a mobile mage killer, but it's not too difficult to make her a mobile everything killer. Her build is a little low, but her speed is so high she can often double while weighed down. She just needs a bit of help with her strength to consistently one-round enemies, but we'll be getting access to a side chapter that provides a +2 strength stat booster very soon, and she is one of the best candidates for that item. But wait, someone who needs just a little more damage to reliably one-round enemies? Yes, Chloé also makes excellent use of Marth's Emblem. Not only for offense, but also for snowballing her level with Mercurius, and as a flyer, she's one of the better characters to snowball. Chloé also has a bizarrely high HP growth for a Pegasus Knight. It's as good as Louis', and he's meant to be a tank. And her personal skill provides +2 damage if a male and female ally are adjacent within 3 spaces. Now this sounds good, but as a flyer, I find Chloé is usually so far ahead of the rest of the army that she's not triggering this skill often. But still, a damage boosting personal skill is great for someone like her. Get her some levels, or a lot with Mercurius, and Chloé will be a physical powerhouse in the early game. But what I find interesting is that her role tends to pivot around the halfway point. You may notice that her strength growth is lower than her magic, and she has a starting proficiency in staves. What tends to happen is around halfway through, Chloé's strength falls off, but her magic starts getting higher. The game likely intends you to promote her to Griffin Knight at this point, and pivot her into more of a support role with staves. Here's the thing though, magic swords exist. If you promote her into a sword Griffin Knight, she can continue to maintain excellent offense by using Levin swords instead of physical weapons. And with the low resistance on most enemies, her offense will likely be even better than it was before. So yeah, Chloé is an excellent character and someone well worth investing early resources into. Now that I've discussed them, what's new in the Somniel? Well, we have the 2 shops available now. The Armory and the, well, shop. You can use those to buy items.
If I may.
Alfred has something new to say here, so I wanted to speak to him. Before I go ahead and buy items, though, we need to do something about this DLC gold, because I really don't want to use it. And so, I am going to comment suggested that I do this, I'm just going to spend it on donations. So yes, with Furine, we can raise the donation level for 5,000 gold, which is going to multiply all the resources that we can find after battles, as well as increasing the chances of finding enemy skirmishes. So we've got Furine at level 2, and we get a big bonus as well as some bond fragments. And let's go ahead and upgrade to level 3, so we've spent 15,000 gold now on upgrades. And going to level 4 would spend the rest of the money that we obtained. So let's just keep a mental note that I have 15,000 gold that I need to spend on other upgrades. And I do really want to donate to the second country that we get to, because that one has some very good bonuses to ore. But okay, let's not forget to take the achievements as well. Not as many bond fragments as I hoped, but we've got a pretty solid amount. So okay, actually no, let's go and go to the Armory and shop first, because that's the most pressing new thing that we have available right now. Let's check out the Armory right now.
Wow!
They carry only the finest, after all.
So, about the armory.
Armory's inventory will increase as the story progresses and new goods arrive, so remember that. Keep checking back here every now and then. So, I like to buy directly for the convoy, just so I can distribute them later. We can just see all their items, but it's easier just to sort by category. So we have access to slim swords now, which don't even have a crit bonus. They do give, 300, that dodge, that's critical avoid. That reduces the enemy's critical rate. That's not actually, avoid. I still wish it would be called crit avoid. Dodge is a little easy to confuse with evasion, but still. And regular old iron swords. For lances, we can buy javelins. I recommend giving those to all of your lance users, just to have the versatility of a ranged option if you need it. For axes, I do like the compact axe quite a lot, especially for a character who's going to be joining a little later. It's a very light axe, and still solidly powerful. Oh, we can't even buy steel bows yet. But the mini bow is nice, because it is only one range, so it can't attack from 2 range, but it is an option if you want your archers to be able to counterattack on the enemy phase, though it is very, very weak. Surge is a really cool tome, and I like to buy it as soon as I have access to it.
Here you go.
So if you look closely there, you'll see that its hit rate is infinite. Surge never misses, but it only has a range of 1. Now, remember that Surge is not locked to one range, though. So if you, say, had some way of increasing your range with magic, you might be able to use Surge from a distance. Its advantage, besides having infinite hit rate, is that it's very, very powerful, at least compared to fire. I like using Surge to guarantee boss kills. Sometimes you're in a situation where if you miss like a 99, you'll get someone killed, so having guaranteed accuracy is really useful there. We can also buy some knives. We don't have anyone who can use them right now, though, but knives are very nice weapons. We can also buy extra weapons here. Most of these have a brave effect, so they strike twice if initiating combat. You also have the Initiate Art, which is more powerful, but it doesn't strike twice. These are only really useful if you want to use art units in combat, and Fram right now is not great for combat. So I'm going to check stock of my inventory and see who has javelins. Okay, you found a javelin, so Alfred's going to take that one off your hands. And, okay, the only one with no javelin right now is Louis, and I will want to get him one.
Here you go.
Oh, yes, you had 2 vulneraries. Chloé has almost used hers, and she often flies away from healers, so she should take that other vulnerary. I can buy a hand axe for Vanda.
Here you go.
I will take that.
Take care.
And now let's check out the item shop.
I thank you.
Oh, get used to hearing her say this, but...
Now about the shop.
So, the shop sells staves, consumable items, but most notably, this shop will eventually sell promotion items. Remember to check here every chapter, because it is very important that you buy her out of promotion items whenever she has them, because you want to promote as early as possible and engage. You might also notice that she sells torches. This implies that Fog of War exists in this game. Also, pure water can be nice to have for someone like Louis, so I'll take one pure water, I guess. We also have these tonics. Now, I don't personally like to rely on tonics all that much, but these are temporary stat boosters that last for one entire chapter. If you're having trouble with a chapter, especially on Maddening, I would recommend getting some tonics. You'd be surprised how much just a tiny boost in stats can help. You know, if anything, maybe a speed tonic might actually help Alfred.
I thank you.
Maybe even a strength tonic.
I thank you.
Take a couple of these. And I will take an extra heal staff.
I thank you.
Just gotta remember that my money right here is effectively 15,000 less than it actually says. So I don't really have a whole ton of money left that I can really afford to spend. I do like the Illume staff though, but I don't need it strictly just yet. Also antitoxin. Not only does it cure poison, it also heals 15 HP, and I personally really like that because I often found in earlier Fire Emblem games, I would have unused antitoxins at the end of the game that I would have no use for because nothing inflicted poison anymore.
Do come again.
This game gives them a use as a consumable healing item, even if you don't need to cure poison, which is pretty cool. Okay, this is right in front of the stables. It's not always horse manure, though. Sometimes it's other things. So, we have access to the stable, the ring chamber, strength training, and the shrine. Okay, well, I was just at the stable earlier, and I've already kind of talked about the stable. So, the stable is where the animals that you adopt go. And here you can put the animals out in the yard. No reason not to put out all my animals because I have less than 5. The reason why I said last time that dogs are the best animal is that you get items out of your animals in the field every time the Somniel refreshes. Most of the animals, like say sheep, they give like cooking items, but dogs give you metal. And metals are needed for forging, which is a very useful mechanic that will be introduced in a few chapters. But forging, very, very useful. Now you can check out the training yard.
Hello, Divine One.
Hello, Divine Cutoff. You know, it kind of makes sense that Fram is training herself here, given that she just got a double level up in the last chapter. You might also want to just check out up here, because this well, let's just say this well might be important later. You feel a mysterious presence. If you somehow are playing this game back in time, in the past, the well didn't do anything until a free patch. It's not DLC. I mean, it is DLC, but it also does something for free. But it got patched. Okay, so now strength training. I can support him. Yeah, Boucheron's whole thing is that he gets lost often. But we have access to strength training now, which is a minigame. We can play different minigames for scores, and you unlock more as you progress through the story, but the real benefit to these minigames is they give Aaliyah a temporary stat bonus that lasts for the next chapter.
What'll it be?
So, technically speaking, you should do these every time you visit the Somniel. In practice, I often forget, but yeah. So, push-ups increases strength, sit-ups increases HP, and squats increases dexterity. Unfortunately, there's no exercise that boosts speed. That would be pretty useful, but failing that, I like strength. So let's go for some push-ups. So this is basically it's a rhythm game, kind of. Aim to get fit.
How hard do you want to go?
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to use the ultimate Alfred tier of strength training yet. So we'll just play on the lowest difficulty.
Looking good.
You sort of want to press A a little before it hits the bottom.
Perfect.
Like when it hits the less yellow area. Well, I was a little early that time.
Looking good. Perfect.
Expect to hear a lot from Alfred in this game.
You've got this.
If you ever need encouragement, though, with your life,
looking good.
Just come here and hear Alfred compliment you.
You've got this. Great job. I'm so proud.
That was still an S++, even though I got 2 bads. Wow. Yeah, these minigames are pretty lenient, but I'm really only doing them for the stat boost. You get a little bit of bond fragments, though. You don't gain any further bonuses from doing it. Like, just continuing is mostly just for high score.
Let's do this again
if you really like the minigame. Kind of wish that raised your support with Alfred or something, but it doesn't. So, related to that is the shrine? Question mark? So let's go to where the shrine is. Can be a little tricky to find. But if we head down here, I think it's here, yeah. Yeah, down here, we go into this little cave with a lot of glowing spots. Looks like a nice peaceful place to meditate or something, but it's being occupied by the thing we must protect. Firstly, though, there are a whole bunch of bond fragments just randomly lying around, so be sure to pick these up. And now, hello there.
Oh my. What in the world is this creature?
Ah, so you have found it at last.
Vander, what do you know about this little one?
Not much, unfortunately. It began to appear shortly before you awoke from your slumber. Queen Lumera once said it is something of a guardian spirit for the Somniel. Claimed to have played with it in her youth.
She did? So, this creature has been alive for a very long time. You know, I do feel a sort of affinity toward it.
That face compels you to love it.
It seems to have taken a liking to you as well, Divine One. If it is truly the guardian spirit of the Somniel, doing so may bring some manner of benefit.
What a great idea. Now that I've met it, I'd like us to be friends.
Because that's just a leer. Every time they meet anyone new, it's like, let's be friends.
Let's see. I'll call you...
So its default name is SOMMIE. You can change this. I was kind of tempted to, but for now I think I will go for it with its default name.
Yes, I like that name.
Just like mine, it is unpronounceable by mortal tongues.
It's nice to meet you. I hope you like your new name.
It looks well pleased. Don't forget to say hello to it when next you see it around.
Yeah, see, only I am allowed to say Alir or SOMMIE. If anybody in-universe says them, reality will implode. Good things might happen if we take care of SOMMIE, so let's feed it. SOMMIE tends to like most foods, particularly like fruits are usually quite safe. And when you do that, it will give you more bond fragments. You only really get a benefit out of feeding it once per Somniel visit. Same with petting. Yeah, it always felt to me like Three Houses wanted to include an animal petting mechanic and it didn't. I mean, this one only has one for SOMMIE, but still. And another 100 bond fragments. And also we can play dress up with SOMMIE. Accessories. Okay, what we got here? Sharp shades. This is my favorite one, personally. Floral frill. Although this one's pretty good too, admittedly. Also bold brows. I mean, why not? And then we have... cheerful charm. Yeah, no, I like the wings. And you can change the scarf color too. So I guess we can make this... the blue kind of looks alright. I do like the red though. This is like generally the color that I use for a lot of my avatars in Fire Emblem. So often I do this, but it doesn't really work with the hair color. And that is all we can do with SOMMIE for now. But SOMMIE will actually help you in the exercise minigame if you mess up. And now our only possible new place to check out is the ring chamber. But oh boy, this is actually quite a big one, because now we get to discuss skill inheritance. That mechanic that I never used in Heroes. But yeah, these first, fittingly we have the first 3 games in the series. We have Fire Emblem 1, we have Fire Emblem 2, and we have Fire Emblem 4, because the 3rd game was also a Marth game. So, okay, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in the ring chamber. You can inherit skills, you can use bond fragments to create gacha rings. Don't worry, this game does not really have a very extensive gacha system, and it's not really totally necessary. And you can also play a silly ring polishing minigame. I'll do the ring polishing first, because it doesn't really affect a whole lot. Because some of our rings aren't doing all that well. Oh, hey, Marth actually has a pretty high bond with Alir already.
Make it nice and shiny. You're very thorough. Thank you. The ring looks amazing.
So, let's go ahead and have somebody, you know what, let's have Clan polish Celica. That sounds weird.
I hope you'll clean it well.
She is married to Ulm.
That looks so much better. Thank you.
And the ring polishing minigame just lets me, mention the fact that, Sora Ippei is a national treasure. He's one of the artists of Fire Emblem Heroes, but, he did this art.
This ring is filthy, don't you think? Well done. The ring shines like new.
Sigurd, you have very high standards for cleanliness. It was like just a tiny bit dirty. He was like, oh, this is filthy. Well, I mean, I suppose of all of them, like, Sigurd's like the most. Is Sigurd, like, I think Sigurd is like the, apart from like Byleth, who I think is in their 20s, but like, I think Sigurd is canonically the oldest Fire Emblem Lord at the start of their game. But okay, we have the ability to inherit skills. Inheriting skills requires SP, and every character has a starting pool of SP. Characters gain SP in battle, but only if they are wearing a ring. But it doesn't necessarily need to be an emblem ring. So we'll cover that. And also a character can only equip 2 skills at a time. And okay, I'll explain this in a moment, because I think I can do a better job explaining this myself. So okay then, nobody here has any skills right now. And in fact, right now, nobody can inherit any skills at all, because you need to be bond level 5 with an emblem in order to inherit skills. So I should, yeah, probably, is there a way that I can... I don't think I'm even allowed to raise bond levels with fragments yet. That I think unlocks next chapter. So yeah, I actually can't even show off this mechanic. So for example, you can inherit Cantor and have access to that even if you don't have Sigurd equipped. But as it says here, this effect will not stack if you're equipped with Emblem Sigurd. If you inherit a sync skill, it's best to unequip that whenever you're using that particular emblem, because then there's an overlap and it won't work. Among Marth's sync skills, Perceptive and Unyielding are very cheap to inherit, but Break Defenses, the one you really want, is far more expensive. His stat-boosting inheritable skills focus on evasion. The thing about these skills is, you can't say stack avoid plus 10 and avoid plus 15. If you buy a higher tier of one of these, it automatically replaces the lower tier version. But having an avoid boost all the time makes someone an even better user of Marth, or they can start dodge tanking without him. Marth's weapon bonus inheritance is the Sword Agility line, which raise Avoid even further at a cost of -10 crit when using a sword. Notice how this -10 crit penalty never increases at higher tiers of this skill, while the Avoid bonus will keep going up. Honestly, the crit penalty is not that bad unless you're specifically going for a crit build. Finally, Marth's only provided proficiency for promotions, that's a lot of P's, is swords, obviously. For Sigurd's inheritance, all of his sync skills are inheritable, and 1000 SP is pretty cheap for Cantor. Yes, you can have this skill on your entire army if you have the SP for it, and as you'd expect, it's pretty useful. Momentum is also fairly cheap for what it does, but if I had 1000 SP with Sigurd, I'd rather inherit Cantor first. Meanwhile, Headlong Rush, as I've said before, is very cheap, and you want this on as many people as possible before Chapter 10. Sigurd's stat-boosting skills raise accuracy, which is useful since his engaged weapons have a shaky hit rate. Though it's also good for anyone who has issues hitting. His weapon boost is the Lance Power line. Now, these are very strong, straight up increasing your damage with lances, but they are fittingly very expensive. Without getting a lot of skill books, you are not affording these for a long time. And for proficiency, Sigurd provides both lances and swords. All of Celica's sync skills are inheritable, and Favorite Food is quite cheap for its effects, and with how good Engaging is, it's something you might want to spread around. Her stat boosts simply raise magic, but they are very expensive. So if you're budgeting SP, you might need to go for her weapon boost, Tome Precision, instead. Celica provides tome proficiency, which is very important. There are a number of characters with solid magic growths who don't start as mage classes. This can get them there. It's also good for promoting staff users to a class that doesn't rely on their bare hands for damage. She also gives sword proficiency, but it's a little cheaper to get this from Marth. But it does mean that Celica alone provides all the proficiencies someone needs for Mage Knight, and that's a great class. This is what those manuals that we picked up from the expansion pass bonus are for. You see, if we use one of these manuals, if we go, I think you would go into like manage items first, and then I think yeah, here you go, these books. So they give you SP. I don't want to use these just yet. Oh yeah, they give you a bunch of stat boosters that I'm also not going to use. I think I'm actually going to sell all these and then spend that money on donations, because I just feel it's a bit cheap to rely on these. You're not meant to have these right now. And speaking of which, yeah, there is a way to get these books without DLC, so I'm okay with using these, but not now. I might save that until later. But yeah, those are for getting more SP. SP in general is very difficult to obtain without grinding for a lot of books, or grinding a lot in skirmishes, so usually I don't do a ton of skill inheritance when I play Engage. I might try and do some in this playthrough, but yeah, it's just part of my playstyle. I don't rely on skill inheritance a whole ton, especially the really expensive ones. But okay then, we can also create bond rings, though I think I'm actually going to save before I start creating bond rings, because the bond rings are a gacha mechanic. Every emblem has bond rings that are associated with other characters from their game. For example, here's a Merrick ring from Marth's emblem. Yeah, it does explain this. Increase stats and allow units to earn SP, though they do not to the same extent emblem rings do. So, I recommend creating a whole lot of bond rings early and just giving them to everybody, just to make sure that everybody is at least gaining SP, because every chapter a character spends without a ring equipped, they are not gaining SP, and that's kind of bad. That may have been why I didn't do a lot of skill inheritance in my first playthrough. I didn't actually realize this mechanic, so read the tutorials, it's important. Most of these bond rings just boost stats, and they come in different ranks. Every emblem has exactly two bond rings that come with special skills in addition to stats, and I'll be covering the ones for the 3 emblems we have now. Marth has Cedar, which gives Sympathetic, which causes the unit to take 5 less damage if a foe initiates combat, and your HP is 50% or less. That can be okay in a pinch. And Navarre gives the Deadly Blade skill, which gives plus 10 crit when initiating combat with a sword. That's kind of alright. For Celica, you have Alm. He gives Wind Sweep, which gives a luck % chance of cancelling the enemy counterattack if you initiate combat with a sword. Unreliable, but on somebody like Saline, who uses swords and has a lot of luck, that can be kind of a niche build. And May. She gives Great Thunder, massive miss opportunity. This really should have been named Big Hurty Lightning. It makes you do 20% extra damage with Thunder, L Thunder, or Thoron. This is actually pretty nice, since Thunder Tomes have a special effect in this game, and are good for poking enemies from outside of their range. And unlike the other Bond Ring that affects Thunder, this one also affects higher tiers of Thunder. Meanwhile, Sigurd, his 2 ring abilities are Daedra, which gives Renewal, recovers 5 HP every turn. This is actually a great skill for key adepts, as it can put them back into Chain Guard range if they're missing a bit of HP. And Seliph, who gives Battle Wise, grants a stacking crit +1 every time the unit initiates combat and defeats a foe. Bonus lasts for the rest of the battle, up to a maximum of +10. This is actually kind of cool. It's a reference to a mechanic from Genealogy, the weapon kill count mechanic. In that game, weapons track their own individual kill counts, and once they reached a kill count of more than 50, every additional kill gave the weapon +1 critical. But those ones didn't stop at 10, so you could end up with a weapon that had like +50 crit. And since you could repair weapons indefinitely in that game, you could end up, like, the legendary weapons in particular could get pretty funny, especially Sigurd's Silver Sword, which is not a legendary weapon, but it really effectively is one because it's that good. But yeah, kind of a fun reference. In Engage, it's like you have to kill 10 enemies in one chapter to get like +10 crit, which honestly, there are better ways to get +10 crit that are effective all the time. So it's more of a gimmick than actually good, but it's a fun callback at least. Of course, I put in all that effort explaining the mechanic, and then I forget to actually make bond rings. I think I'm going to go for a pull on Celica's banner for 1,000 bond fragments, because Big Hurty Lightning is a very good skill. If I happen to luck out and get that... Yeah, let's just go ahead and get all of them out of the way. No, it did not get Big Hurty Lightning, but I do have 3 Mays and 2 Silks. Yeah, Celica does have a lot of magic boosting rings, so maybe might not be the best thing in the world, but can I merge some of my Mays? I cannot merge my Mays. Because I need one more B May in order to merge those. Okay, and I guess I'll pull on Marth's banner. There is technically a way you can RNG manipulate for... I got Deadly Blade! Okay, that was actually what I was hoping for. So, wow, that's actually pretty lucky getting that without any manipulation. Also, they are the stock art from the original game, and, the artist for Shadow Dragon was also the artist for Ghost in the Shell, I believe, though a lot of people thought that his art wasn't really well suited to Fire Emblem, but still. Okay, who wants Deadly Blade? The thing is, I need a sword user who isn't really going to be using any other emblems, and I really don't have anybody like that right now. Because I don't want Aaliyah to not use an emblem. I'm also on the wrong window. You're supposed to go for emblem rings for this. Yeah, here we go, Marth Spawn rings. I mean, I don't like Aaliyah not really using an emblem, but I do kind of want to use that. Because Louis is going to take Sigurd for now.
Sigurd, leave it to me.
And I'll be back after I've distributed the bond rings to everyone else. And now, finally, it's time for support. So I have Aaliyah with Fram and Boucheron, and I have Fram with Vander. And that's all. I was hoping I would get Alfred and Etier in the last map. But okay, well this one's pretty funny anyway.
Divine One! You look so shiny when you sweat! Hey! Hey! Look over here! Hey! The Divine One looked right at me! Thank you, Universe, for creating someone so awesome and so very shiny!
Fram?
Oh, sorry. Am I distracting you?
Well, you're not distracting me.
Oops. Sorry. See, I'm here in my capacity as a president of the Divine Dragon Fan Club.
So yes, if somebody ever asks Fram, who are you, the president of his fan club? She's just gonna go, yes.
I have a fan club?
Yep. Our mission is to support you. That's why I'm here giving you extra motivation.
Huh. Thanks for cheering me on. But could you maybe not do it so close?
You bet. I can stand back a little. 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's our favorite dragon? You! Y-O-U!
That didn't help.
See, it's funny because I now know that Fram's voice actress is also Kurumi Wendy in Rain Code, and in that game she's also a fangirl of the protagonist, so yeah, her voice actress is getting typecast as fangirls.
Are you all right there, Divine One?
Boucheron? Why do you ask?
Oh, I just thought you seemed a little worn out.
Ouch. You noticed? I am feeling sort of sluggish.
That's not good. You're eating 3 meals a day, I hope?
Especially not good if it's right after he's exercised.
Yes. I don't think my diet is the issue.
Well then, how about your sleep?
About the usual.
So you're eating and sleeping fine, but you still feel groggy. It could be stress.
You think so?
I wouldn't be surprised. Going to war is stressful for anyone.
Yes, you think?
What have you been doing as stress relief?
Nothing. It hadn't even occurred to me. Why? What do you do?
I have several ways to blow off steam. Like going up a mountain alone and spending some quiet time fishing.
Wow. That does sound relaxing.
Would you like to join me sometime? The alone part of it is optional. Really?
Yes, I would love that. Please, come get me the next time you head out.
Boucheron's actually, like, he's pretty decent as a character overall. Like, some people appreciate how grounded he is.
Fram!
Huh?
Oh, looks like she got caught for her last support.
Why are you loafing about? I told you to sort through the offerings.
Oops. I completely forgot.
I was too busy looking at Aaliyah sweating. Please don't take that the wrong way.
Grant me the patience. How do you manage to bungle even the smallest task? This is exactly why I fear for your future.
Even though you leveled up twice in the last map.
I meant to do it, honest. It just kinda slipped my mind.
You know I will not credit that excuse. Forgetting is the same as doing nothing at all.
Oh boy, wow, now I'm getting flashbacks to my, like, elementary school days where whenever somebody would forget a lunch, they're like, no, your mum didn't forget it, you forgot.
Imagine how disappointed your parents would be if they found out. Fram, I have high expectations for you and your brother. You are my successors, after all.
One day, one of you is going to be a big tank to protect the next Divine Dragon.
For my peace of mind, and to honor the mother and father who left you in my care, do better.
Yes, sir. This is the last time I let you down, Vander. Promise.
Left in his care, huh? Did her parents basically abandon her?
Very good.
Or were they just, like, you know, sending her to, like... This is probably, like, the equivalent of getting into, like, a prestigious, like, kind of position. Honestly, it would be a pretty high honor to have your child sent to be a Divine Dragon steward, but nobody else has supports yet. That is kind of a thing with Engage. It's a little hard to build supports, at least this early. However, I kind of want to see if I can give, like, Alfred a present and get a support with him. Oh, actually, this actually does explain that arts use the... It doesn't specifically say that it's averaging your strength and magic, though. But it does explain how arts work. So, okay. Pretty Pipple.
Thanks.
Ah, yeah, that didn't work. So, it will say support conversation unlocked if you got a support out of a gift. There it just said support up. Hold up a moment. I was oblivious to this during recording, but it turns out the day I recorded this was actually Alfred's birthday. So by sheer coincidence, I gave Alfred a birthday present. Just gonna give you the other heal staff that I bought. And so I don't forget later, I'm gonna sell all of these DLC stat boosters that I just got. So some of you might not like this, but here's the thing. This is how I always like to do recorded playthroughs. I don't like relying on anything that you get given for free with DLC, because I want to show that a game is still a complete experience, even if you don't choose to buy the DLC. That steel... Oh, yeah, the steel weapons came out of a... that was a free update. That's a little different. But, like, yeah, I like to show that a game is still a complete experience, even without needing to buy the DLC. And because of that, I am not going to be using the DLC emblems during the main story. And that's because I just personally feel like... I mean, Etier does need a little help, so I am actually going to give her the steel bow. The DLC emblems, in short, throw off the intended balance of the main story significantly. This is actually something that I do recommend that, like, if you do, like, basically a playthrough with the DLC emblems is completely different to a playthrough without them, and I do not recommend doing that for your first playthrough, even if you bought the DLC. Trust me, there are reasons for this. I like the way that the game staggers out the emblems during the main game, and the DLC emblems really throw that off. And they also throw off the balance of when you have access to certain proficiencies and certain skill inheritance. So I will not be using the DLC emblems during the main story. I'm going to be using them as, like, post-game afterwards. But now that I've explained that, yes, we've gone through quite a lot this visit to the Somniel. So, next time we'll be heading out to Firenze Castle for, like I said, the first really challenging battle of the beginning of the game. See you all then.